Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rise of the Phoenix Coach. I'm Amy, a nurse, a trauma-informed life coach, and someone who's walked through the fire and chose to rise. Before we begin, a quick note. This podcast includes real, unfiltered conversations about trauma, addiction, mental health, and recovery. Some topics may feel intense or triggering. Please listen with care, take breaks if needed, and always honor where you are in your own journey. This space is not about perfection. It's about truth, it's about healing, and it's about rising again and again. If you've ever felt broken, lost, or stuck in survival mode, you're not alone, and you're not beyond repair. Here we turn pain into power. We rewrite old stories, and we reclaim the parts of ourselves we were never meant to lose. This is Rise of the Phoenix Coach. Let's begin. And today I have a very special guest. Her name is Christy, and
Hello.
She is the founder of Russ Mix and host of Breaking Curses with Excellence, a platform that is focused on healing, self-worth, personal growth, and breaking unhealthy generational cycles. Through podcasting, coaching, speaking, and empowerment-based conversations, she helps people move from survival mode into purpose, confidence, healthier relationships, and authentic self-connection. So welcome,
Thank you
Christy.
for having me.
Excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, good. How are you today?
I'm good.
Good.
Working and living the dream in some ways.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're all living the dream.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background.
So I was raised in a very religious background, very strict background. My father was not the nicest person, to put it mildly. Um, And during those times, during those periods where I felt really low throughout my life, um, I held on to certain words and certain experiences that I had to help me get through and draw me closer to God. Um, that mixed with the religious trauma caused some issues, right? As I got older and things just didn't match up. And so I've taken a journey away from organized religion. But what has stayed with me is my relationship with God, but also the need to help others. Right. So in that religion, I did a lot of volunteering. I did a lot of, I learned another language so they can help people learn the Bible in that language. I helped with construction of religious facilities. Um, when my friends struggled, um, to this day, some of them tell me how they remembered me stepping in to be of comfort, to be of encouragement, whatever I could do. Show the love that I felt like we all needed, right? Um, but now I've been able to get the help that I need, right? For all of my imperfections, my wounds, right? You can say. And I want to give back now from a healthier place because I was over giving before. I didn't have anything in my tank, but I was giving, 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 giving. Now that I've been able to sit, reflect, have professionals help me, guide me, use the resources that were available to me, now I can help others who have maybe a part of their story resonates with mine. My life is very different because of those steps. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm not sure.
That's powerful. That's amazing. That's amazing. And, from our conversations we've had before, I can relate to you in a lot of levels, different levels. I'm curious, what other language did you learn to be able to teach in another language?
Spanish. Spanish was,
Nice.
yeah, it was, it really worked out wonderfully. Although during that time, I didn't get to go to a Spanish speaking country. I got immersed. because where I live, there is a huge population. And then I worked with a family who was Mexican. So I got to practice hear it all the time. And people in that specific church, a lot of them didn't speak English. So it was kind of like my brain, it was survival, but at the same time, I was learning so much. Hearing the rhythm of a native speaker helped tremendously. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Now you said, from your, can you explain a little bit without getting into too much detail,
Mhm.
the religion trauma? Uh,
So go ahead. Go ahead.
no,
Sorry,
go
I'll let
ahead.
you finish your question.
No, go
I'll let you-
ahead.
Um, I'll say this, and it doesn't, to me, from what I've experienced and seen, it doesn't just apply to the religion I was in. It applies across the board. At times, emphasis are put on the wrong thing, right? So the emphasis is put on you being a good servant, but not on the people who could oppress. The leaders seem to be able to do whatever they want to do, and it's just they're imperfect men, and this happens, and blah blah blah. They can succumb to um, temptation and things like that, or even like the man of the house can do that. But then you have to be this good person. You have to don't be resentful. Be humble, be forgiving, without any boundaries set up. You know what I mean? It's like you're supposed to act like it never happened. Um, there's justice for certain things, but then there's other things that is not. Like in my specific case, something that always stuck out to me was, okay, so it's a big deal if I'm gay, which I am, but it's
Okay.
a big deal if I'm gay, right? But it's not as big of a deal if a man is beating his wife and children, right? Right. So while what I am doing you may look at as a sin, I'm not physically and emotionally abusing anybody. But one seems to have this one's horrible, but this one is tolerable. The wife just may need to submit and be more humble with her husband, and maybe he won't be as bad. Um,
A double
you know,
standard for sure. For
Yes, the
sure,
double
double
standard,
standard.
the
Mhm.
double standard. And so you're like, God says he loves me, right? He cares about me on every level, right? The Bible
Mhm.
says he counts the hairs on my head. But how does that equal? It doesn't matter what happens to me. It only matters what kind of person I am,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so it gives this, and then they had a system where they made decisions about certain things. And so if I say I'm appointed by God to lead his people, and then I make these decisions that constantly hurt one of his people, right? How does that reflect his love? Where does his justice come in there? And how would one really differentiate the two? And so that's what I struggle with, because if you say you're appointed by somebody, right, how you act is a reflection of them,
Oh, 100%. I
right?
agree with you 100%.
And I always, even when I've talked to my family members who are still in it, I said, if I had a company, right, and I have workers, and I know that my workers are going out to my clients' homes and mistreating them, I know that that reflects on me. There's no way I can say, well, they're just imperfect people, and
Yeah.
it's okay. That client should know that it's not me. I didn't do it, so they shouldn't not want to deal with my company anymore because my representatives are, you know what I mean? And so the idea that it's okay for these things to happen, but still stay loyal to God, it just didn't make sense to me. And I understand that we are all imperfect and nobody represents him completely in a perfect sense. There are definitely things that need to be handled and need to be dealt with in a just manner and in a loving manner that reflect him. So that was some of my religious trauma. I'm like, how can I feel like God cares about me so much if they don't care what happened to me as a child? It was known in three different states that my father was abusive. Nothing ever happened to him for that.
Yeah, that makes
Um, so just things like that. Um, that constant feeling of never being good enough, but then everybody else kind of had a free pass to do whatever they wanted to other people, and it was just supposed to be this magical blanket of forgiveness and wipe it clean, and you need God's mercy, so you should be merciful. And so that really bothered my sense of justice, um, and even wanting that for myself, which I later learned was not wrong. It's
Mm.
not wrong to want justice for yourself. It's also not wrong to have boundaries, right?
Yes,
Like,
yes. You
it,
mentioned boundaries earlier, and
yes,
boundaries are just so hard for people, I think.
they are.
I, struggled with them for a long time, and I still will catch myself wanting to over explain, or, instead of, like I say, no can be a complete sentence. No, I'm sorry, I can't do that.
Right,
And
right,
that be it. But
right.
I still catch myself sometimes with certain people wanting to over explain as to why, and I don't know that. I
Yes,
don't.
you
Yeah.
don't. It's still something that I feel like healing is a journey, right? Not a
Mhm.
destination. So in different places, in different spaces with different people, we can still struggle with some of those things, even though we know they're so important. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I had a hard time with the Catholic Church for a long time because of my stepdad, who was my biggest perpetrator, being the one who had me baptized Catholic and I went to church with. And, I was punished a lot as a child for not paying attention in church. I would get quizzed and things. And
Right. Right.
a lot of times I didn't even understand what was going on. So I was, not paying attention or whatever because I couldn't hardly follow along and understand it anyways.
Right.
So
Right.
so I associated God as being punishing because of
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
for the
Mm-hmm.
longest time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I had a really hard time kind of conforming to your traditional God concept. I kind of created my own spirituality, and
Right.
I don't associate with organized religion. If I was going to associate with anything, it would probably be
Okay. Okay.
Buddhism.
Okay.
Uh, they're very meditation based, very peace oriented,
Yeah.
loving to all beings, animals, even things, objects. Um, you know, so it's very different. But
Yes. Yes.
um, yeah, I'm very, very spiritual now, though. Very, I believe God is within us all. You know, so
I mean,
yeah.
you know, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and I'm like, if we're mating his image, right? then
Mhm.
then there's godly things within us. Like
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
things that supersede what we imagine as humans to be possible because we are made in His image. So
yes.
um,
And being that we are made in his image, he made us imperfect. And so he loves us as we are.
as we are, as we are.
Yeah, he loves us as we are.
Yep.
Of course, we always want to try and, better ourselves.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
But yeah, he loves us as we are.
It
I
does.
love that.
It does. It does.
Yeah,
It does.
yeah. Mhm. So tell me, how how did you get into healing? What did that look like for you?
Um, with this, I like to start with uh, how I thought I was healing, right? So
Okay.
I thought
Yeah.
by talking about what happened,
Mhm.
was healing.
Mhm.
If I'm open about it, because I've lived so many years with being closed mouthed about it, right? So I'm thinking this is a step in the right direction. Well, the reality is you just can't talk to everybody about what you've been through. Not always. I mean, some people may have malicious intentions, but some people don't. They just don't know how to handle it. They don't know
Yeah.
how to handle what you've been through,
Mhm.
the right things to say. They're not trained in that.
Mhm.
Um,
It
and
makes a lot
so,
of people uncomfortable, I think.
yes, yes,
I
very
think it
uncomfortable,
does.
very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. And so, um, it can cause a lot of feelings within one as they're telling people and they're not getting it or they're minimizing it or whatever the case may be. So I was doing that a lot, thinking it was healing. Um, But I will say that my mom got me into therapy when I was younger. But
Mhm.
if I'm honest, I even went as an adult multiple times. It didn't take until I was fully ready.
Yeah.
You know, I had to see not only were these things happening to me, but what was I doing I need to change because I can't change what other people do and what their character allows them or their lack of integrity or whatever the case may be allows them to do. I have to, how do I change this pattern? And
Right.
so
Looking at
COVID,
ourselves. Yeah,
yes,
we
yes,
have to look at ourselves and our reactions to
yes,
things.
yes.
Because that's
And
really the only thing we can control is ourselves and our reactions.
yes, that's all we can control. And it's okay, because I don't know about you, but I know I experienced a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, that's just a victim mentality." But the reality is some things did happen to us, right?
Mhm.
They were horrible. They did affect us in horrible ways.
Yeah.
But then our accountability comes in is how do we change that? How do we change how it affects us? So I got to a point during COVID where I had a very triggering moment with my boss and it took me back to that little girl with my dad. And I said, either something's got to change or I don't want to be here anymore. Now, this isn't the first time that I had the hating life ideation or the idea that I'd be better off dead, but it was just like it's one or the other. And so thankfully, I had a nurse practitioner that was overseeing my care. And when I say overseeing it, because she took care of me in every single way. Like everything that I needed, she took care of me. So she had me do intense therapy, um, which really changed the entire trajectory of my life. And so it really meant that I had to be open. I had to be at my wits' end with how life had been.
Mhm.
And then I could go into that and while healing is very hard, it is not for the
Mhm.
weak. It is worth every single step.
Yeah.
So for me, it was looking at those things again in the mirror and trying to put them in the proper perspective. Like, how do I react to things like you said? What am I still grieving? Not just people who have died, but what childhood am I grieving? What parent relationship am I grieving? And how
Yeah.
is that showing up in my life? How am I
Yeah.
repeating patterns, sabotaging myself,
Mhm.
choosing my parent over and over and over again? So um, it looked like sitting down and going back to the roots.
Yeah. And that's what we have to do is,
Yep.
I know for me, I had to really nurture that little girl in me
Yeah.
and tell
Yep.
her that, yeah, what happened wasn't right and it was wrong and it was ugly and it affected you in tremendous ways.
Right.
But you're loved, you're cared for, you
Yes.
matter.
Yes. Yes.
I had to learn how to love myself
Yes.
probably for the first time.
Yep. Yep.
My self-worth was so low. My self-esteem was so poor. Um, yeah, it was very emotional.
Yes. It
Um,
is.
and and it was important for me to allow myself to feel those feelings and allow myself to be angry because
Yes.
in order to let those feelings go, we really have to acknowledge it
Yes.
and allow the feeling to happen.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's going to be there, and look at it and look at, well, why does it make me feel this way? Because
Yes.
this happened, and it wasn't my fault. I did nothing to deserve this.
Right. 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 I feel like you have to almost go through the fire, right?
Mhm.
You have to
You
go
do,
into it. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah. It's it's seeing why you feel that way. It's putting, for lack of a better word, I know people don't love this word when it comes to healing, but putting the blame where it should be, right? You may inadvertently feel like somehow it was your fault, whether it's because that's what they told you or it's because it's a pattern that keeps happening in your life.
Mhm.
But learning that no, that was with them and that's what they put on me, right?
Yeah,
But I no longer accept that. I have the power to change that. Um,
yeah. And
yeah,
now we have the power to change ourselves, to get into deeper healing, and
yes,
then to empower and help other people.
yes, yes, yes. Which is
That
the
is
person.
that is so what I'm about. You know,
Yes.
and I'm far from perfect. I know I'm not perfect,
Same. Same.
but I have come a hell of a long way. You
Yes.
know, I
Yeah.
have come a long way. Um, you know,
It's
and so
so
I honor
important that
that.
you
Yes,
acknowledge that.
because
Yes.
we hold on to the shame, even though we know in our heads it's not our fault.
I know. I know.
Connecting
I
it
know.
to our embodiment is a
Yes.
whole
Yes.
nother story. And that's
Yes.
partly why I do talk about it, is because it helps to relieve that shame factor.
Yes. It
When
is
you're
not your
saying it
same to
out
carry.
loud, right? When you're
Yes.
saying it out loud,
Yes.
you're talking about it, it relieves that shame and puts it where it needs to be,
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely.
I had to do another thing that I had to do is a lot of forgiveness, because I choose to still have a relationship with my mother. And I think sometimes the neglect from her not protecting me
Hmm.
probably affected me just as much as
Yes.
some of the abuse.
Yeah.
You know, feeling like I wasn't worthy enough to be protected, feeling like I wasn't loved enough to be protected. Um, but
Absolutely.
I had to come to the realization that she couldn't hardly protect herself.
Right.
You know, she did
That
the
part.
best she could with what she had at that time. She had me at such a young age and had no support. Her parents had both died.
Oh wow.
You know, she had me at 17. Her dad died when she was 14. Her mom died exactly like 2 weeks before I was born.
Wow.
And so yeah, that was, you know, so she was trying.
Devastating. Yeah. She was dealing with all that grief and
Yeah,
then being a new mother with no support.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I I realized with my mom that there were things in her life, obviously, before I came that mm, changed her self worth, right?
Mhm,
And then you draw a certain kind of person,
mhm.
and they just continue to just tear it down, just rip it apart. And so it can leave someone feeling very powerless.
Yeah.
Um,
I know my mom's changed a lot through the years. Um, and I look at her as a pretty strong person. I'm sure she endured some of the same type of trauma that I
you
did.
did,
You know, it's a cycle. You
yes,
know,
yeah,
being a cycle breaker. You know,
right.
me and some of my cousins have done that. I come from a long line of alcoholics and addicts, and I think all of my cousins on my mom's side, just about all of them are clean or sober, or, you know,
Yeah, that's awesome.
they've
That's
fought
awesome.
some of their own demons. Yeah.
Yes, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Mhm.
That's breaking curses right there. You
Mhm.
know, it is. It's to be proud of.
Yeah.
Definitely something to be proud of. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is great. Yeah, we have so much in common. So tell me, other than, did you do any kind of work in, like, I strongly believe,
Hmm.
and it's known and facts that trauma lives within the body and your nervous system. Did you do any kind of work as far as that to help you release the trauma?
I'll be honest and say I didn't. I didn't.
Okay, that's
Um,
okay.
and I do. I wholeheartedly believe that it lives in us.
Hmm.
Um, that it
Yeah.
stays with us unless we relieve ourselves of it. Our nervous system, it lives in there. It
Mhm.
just I think that's a lot why in the past and even sometimes now, if I'm honest, you can get triggered, right?
Yeah.
It's just automatic because it's there and it's like your body's sounding off alarms, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That this is happening again. Um, but no, I've never done any of that kind of work.
Okay. Because it can be simple things, and maybe you have done some of this and just didn't
Yet I
realize
don't realize
what
it.
it was.
Yeah, that's also possible.
You know, because it can be breath work, you know,
Yeah.
breathing exercises and techniques. It can be just practicing mindfulness.
Yes.
Instead of while you're brushing your teeth in the morning and thinking about all the things you got going on that day, just concentrating on brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
Doing like when you're eating the same thing, really tasting your food and enjoying it instead of just going through the motions. And,
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
it's all about practicing being in the present moment.
Right. Right.
And not, I'm sure you've heard of like grounding techniques
Yes.
where you
Yes.
count objects or you point out different colors and different things in the room you're in, or different
Yes.
things, firmly putting your feet on the floor. I love to do that outside in nature, barefoot.
Yes.
Grounding in nature is very healing for me.
Very, very.
Uh,
I love my walks. My
mhm,
walks allow me to, take in, the fresh air, look around, look at the animals, you know,
uh,
look at the grass, look at the flowers,
well,
just
then you're
yeah.
doing it and you're not even realizing you're doing some of it.
Absolutely.
And that
Absolutely.
was kind of
Absolutely.
how it happened for me too. I actually went to treatment, did a 45-day residential treatment program in Nebraska City.
Okay.
And from there went to their transitional living for almost 3 months. And I had a part-time job while I was there
Hmm.
and waiting tables. And I walked everywhere. Nebraska City is a real small town. So I walked to work, walked
Okay.
everywhere. I didn't have a car with me. Um, and so I just caught myself appreciating the squirrels. The town was full of cats. The
Yeah.
cats would come up to me and they'd let you pet them, and and
Okay.
just being able to appreciate small things like that.
Mm.
And yeah, I walked so much when I was there. Um, but yeah,
I,
being in nature. Um,
yes.
mhm.
It's amazing. When I lived in New York, that is one of the things that I definitely miss. Um, I wasn't in the city. I was in the country, in a
Oh,
little town, and so I could walk to the post office and to different places
mhm.
in the city. Um, but there was a ton of hiking places, tons of
Mhm.
beautiful random places where there was
Yeah.
waterfalls.
Oh,
Um,
oh,
they used to call them over or lookouts, kind of like where you could either pull over in your car or you could hike to a point and you could look out and just see
yeah.
like all the mountains. It was beautiful, and
Yeah.
I love that. I felt so much more grounded in that environment, because
Yeah.
you're constantly surrounded by nature.
Yeah.
Um, it was so dark on the roads there that you'd have to put on your brights. It was the law that
Oh,
yeah, that you have to put your brights on. Um, but beautiful views, beautiful views. So yeah, nature,
nice.
yeah, nature's always been a good thing.
Yeah. Nature. I know the ocean in particular is my favorite thing about nature. I think I kind of began my own spiritual awakening and kind of coming to and realizing that, I needed the deeper healing when I was in Hawaii.
Okay,
And
okay,
it was like the ocean spoke to me. It was as if the ocean spoke to me. It kind of opened me up.
wow.
It was amazing. I don't even know how to describe it, but yeah.
Ocean is it's very moving, very calming. Um, I have, I say I have a healthy respect for it. I don't go swimming in it, but I would definitely walk in it. I would definitely sit like
Yeah.
where the waves are coming up, because
Yeah.
it is its own living being. It's yeah. The ocean is awesome. The
Yeah.
beach,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm not one to swim out in it, but
right.
maybe get in waist deep where the waves are coming in not much more than waist deep, because then I'd get
Yes,
a little
yes,
nervous.
same. Yes,
I
yes,
can
yes.
swim a
Because
little bit, but not the best.
right, right, and yeah, yeah. So yeah, but I love being by the water. So relaxing.
Yeah. Yeah. Even like we have some lakes here, and I'm not far from the river, but and a pool even will make me
Yes,
happy.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. Yeah.
but yeah, there's just something really special about the ocean to me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to move closer to one.
Okay.
I'm smack in the Midwest, so
Understood.
yeah, in Nebraska.
Yeah. It doesn't. Yeah. It's not close.
It's,
The ocean is not close. It's not close. It's about mm,
it's a lot of
6 or 7 hours from me.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. In a whole other state.
yeah,
But yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I understand. Like the
Yeah.
closest I have is lakes here. You
Yeah.
know, it
We've
is
got
lakes.
some recreational lakes, and I think most of them are man-made around here. But
Okay.
we've got some state lakes and stuff where you can go camping or just go for the day and hike or,
Same.
do different things there too. So I've got, was it NP Dodge Park right by me?
Okay.
And it's like a big recreational area where they've got soccer fields and baseball fields for the kids. And
Oh, nice.
there's some areas that you can go up hiking in and things like that. So I go up there once in a while.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Speaking by the water, we have some that it's man-made
Mhm.
beach type areas.
Yeah.
And go
Yeah.
up there just to get a little taste of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That works too.
Yep.
That works too. So tell me a little bit more and tell our audience a little bit more about what you do uh, within your company. It's Rest Mix.
Right. So the whole point is to meet people where they're at with
Mhm.
their healing journey, right? So not everybody, I say not everybody loves talking to someone one on one about it, but that's one of the things that I offer, right? But if somebody would rather listen to a podcast where I share some of my story, other people share their stories where they can resonate and see the steps that we have taken to heal or to overcome certain obstacles or patterns in our lives, they have that resource. I have some books that are about healing journey and self growth. So yes, there is a portion that you read, but then there's another portion where you complete the
Yeah.
answers. Like there's questions, prompts, things to get your mind thinking about your own journey. And you can do that in the quiet, time of your own home, wherever you're at, right? Um, I have, where I can do motivational speaking as well, either virtually or in a facility. And I tell some of my story, but then we quickly get to the point where we talk about ways that each individual can build their self worth, things that they can do, steps. And so making it like a workshop,
Yeah.
very interactive in what I offer. I want people not only to see what I have done and what others have done, but to see how they can do it too, like the practical ways that they can. I have things that I like to call, I feel like, so it starts with us, right? It's inside out. But sometimes, right, we want a little something to relax to or have a bit of spa at home. So I
Mhm.
have some items that I sell like that as well. Um, it's some bath bombs, some skincare, just different
Okay.
things that both men and women can use, but mainly women. We're about our skincare.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's some workout equipment as well because I feel like it's all encompassing. Us feeling better about ourselves is 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 about the outside as well, right? So
Yeah.
when we feel, sometimes, honestly, if I'm honest with myself, like if I look good, it makes me feel good about myself, right?
Mhm.
And so there's those things as well as shirts because I remember thinking I really started with the shirts, if I'm honest. I remember thinking if I could share some of the words or things that help me get through or perspectives that help me get through, what's the best way to do it, right? So I thought someone wearing a shirt could encourage the person who's wearing it, but then everybody who they walk past can see it, feel it, be encouraged, be uplifted. So it also has some inspirational, motivational apparel, cups, backpacks, things like that.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, it's an ecosystem of whatever you need.
Yeah.
I want to offer it for people to be able to overcome what life has unfortunately made an obstacle for them. Um, yeah,
Good. I love that.
yeah,
So you have a lot of options
yes, a lot of options,
to
a lot of
things for
options.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that they can, which one works for you, and you go with
Mhm.
from there. And it's not to be the one stop shop for everything. It's to get those conversations going, right? Even
Started.
if even if it means um, a conversation within yourself. Right?
Hmm.
Why do I keep doing this? Why does this kind of personality keep popping up in my life? Right? Um, Reminding yourself through different techniques of your worth. Right? When you seem to forget it, or when something happens and separating, what's happening to us to what we are. So yeah, that's what my business is about. It's very personal to me because that healing, that overcoming certain patterns, is what has changed my life, and I hope that it does that for anybody who checks us out.
Yeah, we are so aligned. We are so aligned. I know, I feel strongly that part of my purpose is to help other people find
Absolutely,
their own voice.
absolutely.
Um,
You feel
yeah,
empowered.
because
Yes,
it is empowering. I
yes,
wrote an
yes.
article, and actually it's the first chapter in my book that's going to be coming out.
Okay.
The power of being seen, what that does for you.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing. Some
Right.
people don't want that. They don't want to be seen. And that's still the shame in them.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
still shame related.
Yeah.
I believe in a lot of cases. It's still shame related.
I'd even venture to say it's the forced humility as well. You
Hmm.
know, when you're told like, don't be bragging too much, don't think too much of yourself, don't this or that. Like they don't even want to show what they are good at. Even though that doesn't mean that it takes it from anybody else, right? We all have our different talents, so
Yeah.
share yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Mm,
I think if I may just share this, I think it's important that people feel the freedom and the entitlement to tell their story, no
mhm.
matter who it affects.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times we have inadvertently said in society, protect the people who hurt you by not telling the story,
Hmm.
right? Because it's gonna make people feel uncomfortable. It's gonna bring shame to the family. It's gonna do
Hmm.
this and that, but it is your story.
Yeah.
You have
I
every right
I
to tell it.
felt a lot with that in releasing my book. I know I'm gonna have family members that are gonna be upset with me. Um, but that's on them. That's their shame. That's their stuff.
Right.
I'm doing me to help me with
Right.
my continued healing, for myself. I'm not, it's not like I'm out to get anybody.
Right.
I want
Right.
want the world to think terrible things about, my mom or my stepdad or anybody
Right.
concerned.
Right.
It's about me just being real for the first time and
Yep.
being living in my truth.
Yes. 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 Which
I'm done. I think it wasn't until I was probably in my younger to mid 20s where I told the full story, the truth.
oh wow.
I was even told when I was 15, when everything came out to an uncle of mine, I was told to basically lie to the police and not tell them that I had told my mom a portion of what was going on. And I didn't realize and learn until later it was because they figured we would all be taken away. And so they were protecting my mother.
Yes.
They were
Yes. Yes.
protecting my
Yes.
mother.
Yes. Yes. That and I'm so sorry that
Yeah.
happened to you. I think it's a very real thing um that that you've had to deal with. I know that for me, my struggle was the fact that like when I went through that intense therapy, realizing like, okay, your mom may have had her struggles, but your family knew full well what was going on.
Right.
And while my mom may choose to stay, why didn't anybody care enough to take me?
Right.
To get me out of it. You knew what he was doing to me. You
Right.
know, but I do feel like it was about protecting my mom.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't want to take her child from her. They didn't want her, I don't know, but it was more about her
Yeah.
than it was about me. So I do
Yeah. With all the
understand.
other family, absolutely. It was 100%. I think them at the time, whether they realized what they were doing or not,
Right.
um, it was more about protecting her.
Yeah. And what does that leave you with? Right. Like,
Mhm.
so I'm not as
So
important and I'm not.
again, that
Yeah.
that
Yes.
kind of reiterated my feelings of, well, I'm not worth enough.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not worth it
Yes.
to
Yes.
rock the boat a little bit. I'm
Yes.
not I'm not
Yes.
worth that kind of love and
Right. That kind of
protection.
protection. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Same. Same. It reinforces that in your brain and you don't even quite realize that that's what
Mhm.
it's reinforcing. So
Oh
then
yeah.
you have no basis or standard of how you allow other people to treat you because your family your family didn't care how you were treated, right? Like
Mhm.
your
I was
parents who were supposed to protect you didn't.
yeah.
So like, you
I
know,
was a terrible people pleaser. I was terrible at boundaries. I never said no when I didn't want to do something because I was more concerned with keeping the peace. That's what
yes.
I learned to do at a very young age was to keep the peace
Yep.
at my cost, at all costs, my
Right.
costs.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Mm,
Same. Same. Keep the peace, be forgiving, let it go was always the thing, right? Let it go.
yeah. Let it go.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a very hard thing. I'm sorry that you experienced that.
Yeah. I'm sorry you had to as well. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody should have to go through those kinds of things.
No, they shouldn't. And the thing is, the sad thing is that it follows us into our adulthood, right?
Mhm.
So it isn't just that little girl who didn't get, saved or protected, right? In your case, now it's a grown woman
Mhm.
who
Yeah.
feels that betrayal, that, you know, yeah. And
Yeah.
the little girl stays. She
Mhm.
doesn't, at least in my case, I can say she's still there. And there's still times where I have wondered, like, why wasn't I? Why, why didn't you? Um,
Right.
I've moved, with time and with different resources, you move through it.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that people know, like, you can still have those feelings, even if you have done a lot of healing, right? It's still very natural, very normal. It's not
Mhm.
something that you should just get over, you know?
Yeah. It's not, it doesn't work that way.
It
Doesn't
doesn't
work
work that
that
way.
way.
It
There's a
doesn't work.
lot you have to reflect a lot. There's a lot you have to process to really be able to move on and
Yeah,
not let it affect you in the same ways. I mean, it's
yeah,
always going to be a part of you.
yeah,
It was a big part of my life. It's always going to be there. It's not like I'm just going to forget about it.
right,
Um,
right.
but you can learn to live differently and better and healthier and
Yes, yes,
live more authentically as yourself.
yeah,
Who you want to be. Be
yeah,
that person.
absolutely. I think I was so happy when the idea of reparenting came up in my healing process because it gave me permission to be the parent to the little girl inside of
Yeah.
me. You
Yeah.
know, I could reassure her that she was worthy and that we're going to take care of, what I mean? I'm going to take
Mhm.
care of her. I'm not going
Yeah.
to let somebody do the same thing to her.
Yeah.
I'm going to be for her what my parents should have been, you know,
Yeah.
um, a safe space, right?
Mm.
A protection, a wall of
Mhm.
protection. So,
Yeah, we can do
yeah,
that for ourselves.
yep, we can
Definitely,
do that
we
for
can do
ourselves.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Something that I did um, that was very powerful, at least for me, was, and I talked about it in one of the episodes recently, but writing a letter
Mhm.
um, to my younger self.
Mhm. I've done
Um,
that too.
I bawled. I
Yeah.
bawled.
It was hard to do.
It was hard to do. It was hard to do. But
Yeah.
then feeling at the same time, if that makes
Mhm.
any sense. But
Yeah.
it was like, you know,
It was like a
um,
cleansing, a release
yeah.
that we needed.
One of them had me like close my eyes too and like sit next to the little version of me
Mhm.
um, and hug her
and have
Reassure
a
her.
conversation with her.
Yeah.
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 I did all that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did
It's
all
very
that.
healing. Very
Yeah.
healing.
It was very powerful.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Mm,
Yes, it is.
yeah.
Yes, it is.
Mm.
Uh,
This has been wonderful.
yes, it has.
This has
Yes,
been
it has.
wonderful.
It
If
has.
there's any last thoughts you would like to leave with our listeners today, what would something like that look like or sound like, I suppose?
So it would be know that, as I mentioned before, the healing is a journey, right?
Mhm.
Not a destination. It's okay to have setbacks. It's okay to have feelings pop back up in different scenarios that you thought you already got rid of. Please be graceful with yourself.
Yeah.
Give yourself the same compassion that you'd give a friend who is
Yeah.
struggling, right? Um,
Mhm. Yeah, healing's messy.
yes, it's
It's
very
not
messy.
linear. It's
It's not
definitely not
linear
linear.
at
You know,
all,
you,
at
you may
all.
take a step or two forward and then take a step back.
Yes, or a couple
And
steps back.
take a yeah, or
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But you are still going to be going in forward motion as long as you don't give up hope.
Yes,
You know,
and,
you
and to
cannot.
enlist help,
Mhm.
enlist help. You
Yeah,
know,
and get support. Get the support you need
get
because
support.
it's you
Yes,
cannot do it alone.
you cannot do it alone. It doesn't. You know, everything is different for everybody, right? Some
Mhm.
people really heal through therapy. Some people really heal through coaching. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But others have other ways that they do. Please find the way that helps you get through.
Yeah,
That helps you get on the other side of certain things.
yeah.
And keep going. Know that you're worthy. You're worth every step. Never let someone minimize what you have been through, and always keep going. Keep
I
going.
love that. That's very good. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close with this, and I want to say thank you, Christy, first and foremost.
Thank you for having
It's
me.
been wonderful with having you here. And so I just want to say, you know, if something in this episode resonates with you, that's not by accident, and your story isn't over. And no matter where you are right now, you are still capable of rising. If you're ready to go deeper, come join me on Substack at riseofthephoenixcoach.substack.com. And this is where I share more of my own story, tools, and real time insights. And if you're looking to work together, you can visit my webpage at riseofthephoenixcoach.com to learn more about Rise of the Phoenix Coach with one on one coaching. And here we rebuild confidence, reignite inner strength, and rise up to a life of peace, love, and true happiness. And if this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. That's how this movement will grow, one story, one voice, and one rise at a time. Okay, and until next time, stay grounded, stay aware, and keep rising. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.